to the Ty Show for June 1st. Today being June 1st, or June 2nd for me, but June 1st for all you that are keeping track of the news, I wanted to clear up we're going to get into it a lot today, and just wanted to make sure we understand that I completely support the Black Lives Matters movement right now that's going on. I do not support the rioting that's going on, but I do support the protest as racism in America is a thing and it does need to be changed. Uh, but we're going to get into that a little bit today, figuring out what some of the big sports figures are doing to help that out. And let's jump straight into that today. First things first, I want to clear up Thunder did put out a statement today, as you can see on the screen, that reads, "The tragic reality of racial injustice in America needs to be remained at the forefront of the national dialogue. With the recent death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, along with countless other examples of inequality, hate, and racism, the Thunder condemn those who were led by example during peaceful protests in Oklahoma City and Tulsa over the weekend, as they are using their voices to demand change that we all know is imperative. While great sadness and anger resonate throughout the Black community and our entire state and the rest of the nation, we join other leaders in accepting responsibility to continue efforts to expand dialogue and enact real change. We believe that change starts by leading through love, empathy, understanding, and learning on the relationship that we have in place to continue to create a positive impact." I completely agree with this. There have been protests here in Oklahoma City and Tulsa over the weekend. Uh, Remained peaceful for the most part. It was when at night when it got bad. Uh, yeah, I completely agree with the protests. As I said, I don't feel like the cops are bad at all. Uh, I know many police officers that are actually really nice, and I've never met a mean cop ever in my entire life. But yeah, it's definitely a problem that needs to be fixed. It's been there forever. As you go back, look at Colin Kaepernick and what he was doing. It puts into a light now that what we see. I still didn't agree with what he did over the fact that he did it during the national anthem. I felt like that was, at that point, you're disrespecting the military along with while protesting. But uh, I agree with what he's protesting for sure. The racism is a thing, but and it does need to be changed as we clearly are seeing now. Uh, but it it's definitely a tough subject that I'm going to try to keep on the low as much as I can. Because as a white male in America, I don't really have much that I can say because I've never lived through the eyes of someone else like that. I'm. It is my take on it is that we need to support them the best we possibly can in this time where they need us. But a couple NBA players went out and protested themselves over the weekend. Here in Norman, Oklahoma, Trae Young, the Hawks point guard, spoke at a peaceful protest of racial injustice and police brutality in his hometown of Norman on Monday. Young, the former Oklahoma star, who now plays for the Atlanta Hawks, briefly addressed several hundred people at Andrews Park about the deaths. Here's was his comments. "I know the country's in a messed up place right now, and for me, I just think it's important that we all stick together and we stand up for what's right. It's just not going to take just me. It's not going to take just you. It's all of us coming together and doing this as a collective unit." A black man, died May 25th at a white Minneapolis police officer pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for more than 8 minutes while Floyd was handcuffed and saying he couldn't breathe. Floyd's death has sparked protests in Minneapolis and around the country, some of which have become violent. Norman Mayor Brea Clark and Police Chief Kevin Foster were among the other speakers at the Norman rally. Young acknowledged that he doesn't often speak out on social issues and credited his sister Caitlin for helping him come out of his shell. At one point, Young held up a Black Lives Matter sign. "I'm not used to doing this," he said. "I'm very open about what I see or the things that go on in this world very often. But for me, even though I'm just 21 years old, I feel like that is necessary. This is bigger than me, and I feel like it's a big step in the right direction." Uh, Young's NBA City of Atlanta has been rocked by protests, fires, and looting. He said that after he left this stage, he has mixed feelings about these protests. I play in Atlanta, a black cultured city where people are looting there. It's messing up the city, he said. So I see both sides. You could protest the right way peacefully, which I believe it should be, but I also see where it hasn't worked. He believes better days are ahead. I feel like justice will be served and changes will be made if we all could just come together. Kind of like when we supported Town's sister, or when his mom died of COVID. But this is us doing it. This is the first step. But in Atlanta, you had Jalen Brown, who drove 15 hours to go peacefully protest in Atlanta. Boss Celtic card. He led the protest march through Atlanta on Saturday night. Brown, who streamed much of his march live on Instagram, also posted videos of speeches to his page. Said during his Instagram that he drove 15 hours from Boston in order to protest in Atlanta, which is about a 20-minute drive southeast of his native Marietta, Georgia. This is a peaceful protest. Being a celebrity, being an NBA player, don't exclude me from no conversations at all. First and foremost, I'm a black man and a member of this community. We're raising awareness for some of the injustice that we've been seeing. It's not okay. As a young person, you've got to listen to our perspective. Our voices need to be heard. I'm 23 years old. I don't know all the answers, but I feel how everyone else is feeling for sure. No question. Brown, who is vice president of the National Basketball Players Association, marched with a megaphone while holding a sign that read, "I can't breathe," reference to George Floyd's death in Minneapolis. Brown was joined by another National Basketball Players Association Vice President, Malcolm Brogdon, as well as former first-round pick Justin Anderson, who played with Brogdon at Virginia and is currently in the G League with the Long Island Nets, and rapper Little Yachty. I've got brothers, I've got sisters, I got friends that are in the streets. They are out here that haven't made it to this level, and they are experiencing it. They are getting pulled over, just discrimination day after day, Brogdon told protesters. Dealing with the same BS. This is systematic. This is something where we come and we don't have to burn our house. Uh, we built this city. This is the most proudly black city in the world. In this world, man, let's take some pride in that. Let's focus our energy. Let's enjoy this together. This is the moment. We have leverage right now. We in a moment this time. People are going to look back. Our kids are going to look back in this and say, you were a part of that. I've got a grandfather that marched next to Martin Luther King in the 60s, and he was amazing. He'd be proud to see us all here. We got to keep pushing. Jalen had led this charge, man, and I'm proud of him. We need more leaders. Brown also tweeted Saturday night that 3 people were part of the peaceful protest were arrested, and in a follow-up, he asked for their names. The protest was just one of dozens around the country on Saturday. Former NBA player Stephen Jackson, who's longtime friends with George Floyd, was part of the protest in Minneapolis alongside Counts and Josh Kogi. Another player who helped or made a comment was the #1 pick in Joe Burrow, saying that black communities need our help. They've been unheard for far too long now. Open your ears, listen, and speak. This isn't politics. This is human rights. Um, I think that these are all statements that definitely needed to come out. Players around the league, especially the NBA being such a African American dominated sport, we need to. They're gonna show their support, of course. As you got LeBron, who's said a lot. You've had other players say a lot, but I mean, as a quarterback like Joe Burrow, who is prominently white, step up and say something. That's what we need to see. Is that we need all of us right now to support each other the best we possibly can into this. We can we can end this if we just all stick together and just remember that God made us all equal, and that's why we're on Earth right now. There should be no difference at all based on the color of your skin. But that's where we're at right now. This 9 minutes in. I'm gonna jump to actual sports news for the day, which there wasn't much, but there's a little bit. Um, but it's definitely gonna change the sound of what we've been talking about from something really, really, really important to something that's not as important right now. But if you guys have uh, watched, there's a new show called The Titan Games, or season 2 of The Titan. Not a new show, but it's a show hosted by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, which basically um, it's a strongman competition. So they have two two males and two females compete against each other to determine who's the strongest. Best out of three in just random events. Like, I think the first one was climbing on a fence, and whoever wins that goes to Mount Olympus, which is where you'll face the Titan. And The Rock has handpicked the Titan for this, uh, for that. I'm trying to what's the word? Region. Yeah. There's the East, the Central, and the West. We are talking about the Central today, and that's what's on right now. I think it finishes up next week. But Joe Thomas is the Titan in the Central Division, and he remained the man to beat in the Central Division. The former Cleveland Browns left tackle successfully traversed Mount Olympus for the third time when he beat Dr. Caleb Redden, aka Dr. Thor. Redden climbed into the lead after crankdown and remained ahead of Thomas after he approached the ball and chain. Going up against six-time All-Pro lineman isn't much of a fair fight when the objective is pulling a heavy object a long distance, and Thomas showed exactly why. He sped past Redden and got to the Titan tomb, recovering the relic and placing it in the podium to retain his Titan status. Shantae McMillan, who's the Titan for the women's division, she's a track and field artist, did not enjoy the same luck, though. Having toppled boxing star Clarissa Shields to become a Titan last week's season premiere and defended her title against Jamie Seaman, the Instagram fitness model. McMillan made a critical error on the log lift as she prematurely released the log before it was secured at the top of the obstacle ramp. As a result, she had to start at the bottom and complete the obstacle all over again. Danny Spiegel, or Jamie Seaman was the last one. Danny Spiegel was the Instagram model. The challenger was provided with a gift, yet still made, which usually daunting Mount Olympus looked easy en route to victory. In Monday's men competition, professional opera singer Michael Hewitt faced off with Redden, who's a sports medicine physician. Redden is nicknamed Doc Thor for his fame and resemblance to Thor actor Chris Hemsworth, and he showed off his strength by easily breezing past Hewitt in the first event chain length. The dominance continued in kick out, when Redden quickly kicked in the first two pistons in place before going to work on the third. Redden initially struggled to make it budge until it finally got him to move and knocked off Hewitt. On the women's side, Spiegel, a fitness consulate, was matched up against NCAA basketball referee Noddy Carey. Spiegel beat Carey in nuts and bolts to gain an early advantage before they clashed in lunar impact, where the competitors raced up a ladder on the sliding wall. One's used to push the other off to the platform. Spiegel was the first to reach the wall, which allowed her to build momentum and gain significant ground on Carey. Carey dug her heels in and fought back against Spiegel, but eventually ran out of gas and was sent packing. Joe Thomas and Spiegel will now serve as the Titans for next week's Central Region's finale. So I'll bring that to you next Monday, which will be the finale for that. But if you haven't watched the show, it's on NBC on Monday night at 7. It's probably on Hulu or something afterwards if you haven't seen it. But it was very interesting. Good show. Kind of helped take off where we are in the world right now. But there was that, and then also the Oklahoma City Thunder owner yesterday, Clay Bennett, wants all 30 teams to be in Disney World in Orlando. He wants the NBA to be presented at a united front. At the end of last week's Board of Governors call, Bennett was pleading to have all 30 teams in Orlando once the season returned. Bennett is worried that small team markets that do not have the chance to play competitive basketball for 9 months could suffer from a lack of player development. He is also concerned that fans in those markets could lose interest, resulting in poor ticket sales and an absence of sponsorship revenue. According to ESPN, one solution for teams that would be coming to the Disney-wide world of sports complex is to have a mandatory summer training camp. The idea would allow teams to stay in their home cities, lessening the possibility of another shutdown due to COVID-19. Plus, veteran players who would prefer not to attend camp because they could train on their own can let the owners and unions squabble about pay without holding up the rest of the league. The NBA is facing an extended period without fans in arena when next season starts. 40% of the association's revenue comes from gate receipts from the league. To press forward, it will take compromise from both sides. Nike also canceled all their elite youth basketball leagues season for the summer due to COVID-19. Nike announced Saturday that it is canceling all 2020 Elite Youth Basketball League seasons because of the coronavirus pandemic. ending any chance the prestigious grassroots events will be played later in the summer or early in the fall. As we continue to navigate the evolving impact of COVID-19, we are canceling the remainder of the 2020 EYBL season. The company announced on its EYBL website this is not a decision taken lightly, but the health and safety of our athletes, families, friends, and employees is our top priority. We look forward to bringing the EYBL back in 2021. The ELBY is considered the best of the grassroots circuits, featuring hundreds of the nation's top high school prospects spread out among 40 teams. In most years, the circuits have 4 regular season events in April and May. It culminates with the Peach Jam in July. The Peach Jam is the most prestigious AAU tournament every spring and summer. The NCAA announced earlier this week that it's extending the dead period in recruiting until the end of July, effectively canceling the men's basketball live evaluation period in July. The 2 live periods in April have already been canceled. The live periods are the only time during the summer and spring when college coaches can go out on the road and watch potential recruits. There have been discussions on potentially having live periods in August, September, and October, according to ESPN. With the decision, though, Nike's events won't be part of any of those rescheduled live periods. And to end, uh, Arkansas Associate head coach Chris Crutchfield will be named the next head coach of the men's basketball at East Central University, a NCAA Division II school in Ada, Oklahoma. Crutchfield was part of the Arkansas Razorback staff for 1 season last year after being hired by Arkansas head coach Eric Musselman on May 17, 2019. The 25-year college coaching veteran Crutchfield has spent 8 seasons as an assistant coach at OU of the Big 12 Conference. His final 3 campaigns with the Sooners were as an associate head coach before he accepted the same position at Arkansas. He will return to the state of Oklahoma to replace Jay Havens, who enjoyed 7 winning seasons at ECU before taking the job at Northeastern State University, his alma mater, in late May. ECU will be Crutchfield's first head coaching job since he was at Tyler, Texas Junior College for 2 seasons, 1999 to 2001, while complying a record of 35-28. Musselman will now have his first vacancy to fill from the Arkansas staff he put together after taking over the program in early April 2019, and a few potential candidates named to keep an eye on are Rex Walters, former James Madison head coach Louis Rowe, and current Arkansas directors of basketball operations Anthony Ruda. But that's it for me today. A little bit of a longer episode, but I hadn't been on in a couple days. Just wanted to get this video out talking about my view on the events that are happening right now. But yeah, just support what you can. If you see a cop, tell him that you respect what he does, because not all cops are bad. And if you have somebody of a different race, support them right now because it is definitely needed. But that's it for me today. Leave a like, comment what you guys think, and I will be back tomorrow. Peace.